Good morning. Thank you for being here. UAB is coming off a 45-42 victory over Florida Atlantic. Heads to Annapolis this weekend to play Navy for the first time ever on Veterans Day. So with that, I'll turn it over to Coach Dilfer.
My food tastes better this week. Always better looking. I like my kids more. No, it's nice to get a win. We still have some things we got to address, but I was really proud of the coaches and kids' character, right? Having 28 unanswered points can put you in the tank pretty quick, and we've talked all year about responding instead of reacting. I thought they responded to the adversity really well. And then I think, defensively to get those stops at the end and offensively to score at the end of both halves is usually a recipe for success. So looking to build on that against a good opponent that's playing on an incredible day for our country. That should be a spectacular atmosphere.
With Navy, what are the challenges of facing an option attack? And from what you've studied, are they different a little bit offensively this year than they have been, in the past?
Yeah, they're more versatile. They've tried to throw it more. They've done a good job of it. It's not just the option that scares you. It's really the inside run game that scares you. This offense is brilliant by nature. It always has been. It punctures the inside of a defense and makes you collapse inside and creates wider edges to create explosive plays. So it's always been done triple option-ish, but now with the throwing component, it makes it even harder to defend. It's a brilliant offense.
And Trent, looking at Navy's defense too, like how, they seem on film very fundamentally sound. Is that something that you kind of read looking at the film?
Disciplined by nature, right? The kind of kids that go there are going to be highly disciplined, mature beyond their years. They sacrifice. It's the core of what they believe in, so they sacrifice for one another. Gritty, tough, hard-nosed, strong. They have a great strength program. They have a great strength program. So challenges, because, we do a lot offensively around people's lack of discipline, take advantage of it. So to play a team that's highly disciplined is a challenge, and they're very aggressive by nature. They've done a good job of understanding their limitations. So what they do is they counter that by being selectively hyper-aggressive. So you don't know when it's coming, but it's coming, at some point, and you have to have a really good plan against it because it's sound. It's very sound in what they do, and they cause a lot of disruption.
During your time as at Lipscomb, did y'all see a lot of triple option teams? Because there are a bit on high school level, but how many did you see? Not
as early. My first couple of years, yes. For whatever reason, the last couple of years, not as many. We were so physically more dominant up front than the teams we played. The last couple of years, I don't know if it would have mattered because what you'd like to be able to do is play with less people in the box and have more protection on the edges. You can only do that if you're, Georgia, right, in the college football landscape. And in the high school landscape we were, so we were able to do it that way. So this will be a challenge because, we're not as physically dominant, and we need to probably devote more resources to the to the middle of the defense.
And looking back at the FAU game, Trent, you look at Jermaine Brown-Skull. He has really come on lately these last few weeks, having a career high in over 200 yards, all-purpose yards. Can you talk a little bit about how or what he's meant, not only on the field for this offense, but in the locker room?
He's everything, right? He's your moral authority of your offense, just the way he practices, the way he prepares. He has a strong voice, a voice that matters to his teammates. He takes the burden of leadership very serious, wants to grow as a leader, and has, and then he proves it. He's a guy that backs up what his words are. He's the toughest guy. He makes plays in big moments. He's accountable. He missed a couple things against Memphis that ate him up. He had a chance to make two difference-making plays that he missed, and And we didn't criticize it. We just pointed him out, and it just ate him up. Like, he knew it before we told him. So for 2 weeks, he was looking to redeem himself, and he did in a big way.
With you guys defensively, really, on both sides, you've talked a lot about communication this year.
Mm-hmm.
With defensively, particularly in this case, is there any way to defend an offense like Navy if you don't communicate well?
No, we have to communicate well. I think, we also have to make sure we're focused on what we're communicating. There's going to be a lot of distractions, right? This will be probably the most vibrant atmosphere they've ever played in. A lot of things that could grab your attention away from what you're supposed to be seeing and listening to. So that's going to be a challenge to me. We'll make a point of emphasis all week long with. But it's one thing to recognize it, say it. You got to hear it too. And that's something that got us a little bit against FAU. For the most part, we communicated well. The handful of times we didn't, it really cost us. Like, that was a game of less mistakes, but the ones we made were more impactful. In a negative way. And, against a team like Navy, you can't do that. The other thing we have to understand is there's probably going to be less possessions by nature, the way they play. So every single play, there's gravity to it, and they need to practice in such a manner.
Just talk about, A-Train, he's a guy who earned a scholarship during fall camp. Now he's got 2 starts under his belt in that guard position. Just talk about, his development and really just his performance these last
Really
couple
proud
weeks.
of him just for stepping in with what's happened to us on the right side of the offensive line. He's played better each week. He still obviously knows he's got some stuff he needs to improve on. But he's a guy that's always prepared. His preparation habits are great. His practice habits are great. So he's a guy, the term we use around here is trustable, right? He's trustworthy and accountable. So he's a trustable guy, and because of that, you can feel confident going in a game that even though he hasn't had the banked amount of reps, as many banked amount of reps as others, he can still perform for you because of his practice and preparation habits.
With Jacobs, as well as he's played this year, he still has a lot of interceptions, and I know you kind of said something when you walked in, just kidding around with him, sort of kidding around.
Kidding.
Yeah. But with the interceptions, is there a link to what's happening on those, or are they all kind of their own sort of play, or kind of what's going on those plays?
Well, it's hard. You got to go back. There's context to this, right? I said from day one, the hardest position in college football to play quarterback for me. Right? Like, it's just going to be hard. The expectations, the standards are going to be higher than anywhere else in the country. So with that said, I still believe he's played at a very high level. It's hard to argue with whatever it is, 10th in the country in yards per game, 3rd in completions per game, 4th in completion percentage. He's played very well. Without him, we'd be in trouble, right? But he's the one that told me he wanted to be great. So to hold him to a great standard, to be great, he's got things. His eye discipline needs to continue to get better. There's times when he's trying to see everything and he sees nothing, and that's typically when the turnovers have happened. There's an experience, and listen, I did it. I know it because I did it. At the highest level, you're trying to be so right that you're completely wrong instead of being disciplined. And there's a discipline that goes with your eyes. You got to be looking at certain things at the right times. And you look at, I've gone back over the bye week and studied his negative plays, and I studied them yesterday, and it's a common denominator. It's a discipline of the eyes. It's totally fixable, and he's done a good job of improving steadily. So it's hard because you don't want to be too critical of a guy that's kind of helping carry a pretty explosive offense, but you also want to hold him to his standard, and his standard, according to what he told me, was he wanted to be great. So it's my job to teach him the things that it takes to get there. I never was there, but I know what it takes to get there.
Now, y'all are in Annapolis at the Naval Academy Veterans Day, but also it's sort of sort of kind of a homecoming, being back in the kind of Baltimore area. Just kind of talk about.
I don't think many are going to think about that, Evan.
But just kind of talk about any kind of moments in that area.
Yeah.
Being back in there.
It's a special place. My mom actually grew up in Silver Spring, Maryland. So my dad was a federal parole officer in Maryland for a long time in the D.C. area. Played there for a year. Obviously had a great experience in Baltimore. I really love that part of the country. Still have a very warm relationship with the people up there. So, I'm sure I'll reminisce for 30 seconds. That's about how long I usually take to reminisce about things. But it'll be fun to go there. I'm really excited about the Veterans Day thing. I'm fired up about the challenge. I mean, you couldn't have of all the teams that got to play Navy on Veterans Day, we're the one that gets to do it. So I think it's an incredible opportunity for our institution to go up there and play on such a special day.
With Everett Russo, I had 10 tackles the other day, his career high, or probably his best game since he's been here. Just how much has he progressed, as a player from really day one he got here, and certainly and since the start of the season till today?
Exponentially. He is. I mean, one, we always felt, so as Sione and I talked in the off season, leading into training camp, we felt like there was a plan for him to become a starter. We didn't know what that was going to be. We were hoping it was mid-season. He got thrown in there a little bit faster than that. So he learned on the fly. He's still learning on the fly. But to Everett's credit, he embraces the journey. Like, he truly embraces the process. He doesn't flinch when he makes a mistake. He owns it, wants to learn from it, and tries not to do it again. And mistakes are great when they happen once. And you need a bunch of players that are willing to make mistakes, learn from them, and then correct them. And Trapp, that's what we call Everett Trapp, is a guy that has done that consistently. I thought he played really well, but he had his handful of youthful mistakes that he was the first to recognize, and hopefully won't make them again.
Any other questions? All right.
All right, guys, thank you.